kind of answer to those problems. So here, the scope of philosophy, area of philosophy lies somewhere between theology and science. So at one end there is philosophy, there is theology, and on another hand there is science. So philosophy is in between these two. Then further, mm, further there is a question of subject matter of philosophy, but I haven't dealt that in detail because these philosophical questions constitute the subject matter of philosophy. So, because and this is different from other sciences where problems emerge from subject matter like physics or mathematics. Especially, you have a first of all you have a predetermined subject matter, then you are moving with the problem. But here, the philosophical problems itself constitute the subject matter of philosophy. And then the second problem with philosophy is that if philosophy belongs to that uncertain domain, then there are going to be the disagreements are going to be pervasive everywhere. So in his then and we see this disagreements everywhere in philosophy, and philosophers uh, don't agree with each other on any point. So, and AJ Ayer in his essay "Elimination of Metaphysics" say that this disagreement, especially in metaphysics, they are not only at the level of at any issue that whether idealism is right or realism is right. But these disagreements go at the level of methodology. That how will you prove that or that that any picture exists in reality or in only mind. So there is a disagreement on the method that how will you prove, and even what will constitute as an evidence to prove the claim. So this this disagreement, because if we see a disagreement, then there are disagreement in all sciences. But there are certain paradigm to which the scholars are not going to dispute. But in philosophy, scholars are going to dispute method and each and every aspect. And then there comes another issue with this disagreement, and this question is related with the progress of philosophy. Because there are few philosophers who are saying that philosophy, like David Chandler, that philosophy is not able to make progress because there is no convergence among philosophers on basic issues on on basic issues on basic issues. So therefore, the philosophy cannot is not able to make a progress. So, but my point is that progress in philosophy is different from other sciences because other sciences are built on hierarchy, where you can have a certain criteria of progress. But in philosophy, it's much about disagreement. So, though the criteria which is used in other sciences to measure progress is not applicable, and there are people who are saying that philosophy makes progress. There are few people who think that philosophy doesn't make progress. But my point is that a progress in philosophical inquiry is possible, even if philosophy as a discipline doesn't make any progress. So doesn't make any progress. So yeah, Gareth Matthews says that children naturally engaged with philosophical questions. Therefore, uh, they are natural philosophers. Therefore, they are natural philosophers. And then there comes this question of progress becomes really important. That in the case of philosophy with children, because merely stumbling on a philosophical question doesn't make anyone philosopher unless there is some hard work to make progress in this inquiry. So that's my brief yeah, presentation about the nature of philosophy. I think this some kind of outline can yeah, work as a conceptual framework for yeah various for many other frameworks of yeah, philosophical practice. So thank you, and now we can begin our discussion. I hope you people must be having some question about these topics, these issues.
Uh, Thank you, Kishik.
Yeah.
Please, colleagues, your comments, your questions for our speaker.
Hello everyone, this is Madhvi here. I want to ask one question about this all philosophy. Um, Referring to your talk, it was very nice. I want to ask you about you have said that merely observation is not a philosophy. You should be having some background about that. You should be having some area of knowledge, some scientific exploration, some identity of the topic, or some kind of pre concepts in all these things. So I want to know about the Isaac Newton. So he has discovered about the we know the gravitational force, and he has discovered about the many things. So I want to understand that thing, that falling of apple. We all observed in our society some of the other things. So could we relate to it that we have discovered something philosophically, uh, or is it like that we have to go deep into some things? For example, if I want to have a analysis of a topic on like children's philosophy or children's psychology, so I have seen one child playing with some football or something, and he is hitting that football very much like he's so I can understand that some trauma is going on inside that child's head. Or do I need to have some kind of psychological or knowledge or philosophical understanding? Being a non-philosopher or non-psychology student, can I have that knowledge that children or that child is facing something inside him or her by just watching or having an observation about that? So can I have that kind of knowledge or understanding? Or do I need to have a deep philosophical knowledge or psychological or scientific knowledge in that regard? Is it possible for me to have some idea that some psychological wrong is going on children's mind, or or what? So I want to know this.
Yeah. Thank you, Madhvi. You have asked too many things in this one question. So, my first argument is that you do not need some kind of historical background in philosophy to do philosophy, because philosophy is much about skill than knowledge. Because when we say that we are putting philosophy on the second order, then we are saying that philosophy is dealing with understanding rather than knowledge. So yeah, you have some information, you have some knowledge, and now you want to be clear about it. you are looking for clarity. So, and if you say that you need some kind of knowledge in, some kind of uh, training in philosophy, in philosophy, to do philosophy, some kind of knowledge, some kind of specialization, then children won't be eligible to do philosophy. But my position is that children are eligible, are capable to do philosophy, because they can think about these philosophical questions afresh, and they can go at the order level, second order level, uh, within their own limitations. Like uh, a maths student in primary school doesn't do mathematics as a mathematician do, but that doesn't mean that he is not able to do some kind of basic arithmetics. Our arithmetics shouldn't be taught to him. So that was my argument. That was my position.
More questions, comments, please? We have about 10 minutes before the start next meeting. Yes, maybe Pishik, you add something, maybe some conclusion or main point of your vision. It's another time. I don't know.
Mhm.
Abhishek, I want to add some more point on your topic. I wanted to understand one more fact that you explained the first order thinking and the second order thinking. So I want to know that what is this intuition and imagination? It is discovered in all children. We know that they also see dream, but they are not able to understand as we do. But they have some kind of observation or like inner experience in all that regard, but they are not able to understand or explore like we do. But can that be called that they have some kind of intellect or mentality of discovering some kind of things which we generally don't discover? Like we say that the children have that kind of power, which with which they can see the things which the grown up, the adults are not able to see, or they are not able to observe, but they are not able to understand it. So if the children are taught philosophy, so they maybe they are able to add on some more things in the subject philosophy as compared to the intellectuals. Do you have any idea on this?
Yeah. So,
Please.
yeah. So if actually uh, we are seeing philosophy in a continuity of tradition. So in when we think about philosophy, we think about Socrates, we think about some great philosophers, and we try to continue that legacy. But when it comes to the children, they are asked to think afresh. If they are asked to think about what is justice, what is good, what is bad, what's beautiful, what's ugly, and many more things. So they are beginning afresh, and uh, and they can come up with some new things, and they can come up and they can add on some new perspective and philosophy. Because if you are following some kind of tradition, some paradigm, then there are very then the scope of adding new things becomes very less. So yeah, there can be some kind of paradigm shift which may come up come from philosophy for children. Yeah, philosophy with children, and actually, I see philosophy as an activity, a cognitive activity, and especially at conceptual level. At conceptual level. At conceptual level. So, uh, and it's much about understanding rather than discovery. So, I don't think that there are discoveries in philosophy. There may be discovery in science, but I don't think that there is any, there is discovery in philosophy. It's about understanding whatever the facts, whatever knowledge you have already. You want to make it. You want to make a larger picture. You want to rearrange what you have. You try to make a sense, and for that you are engaged in kind of cognitive activity, which is primarily conceptual. And if we see philosophy, the birth of philosophy, it began with conceptual thinking, as claimed by Felix and Guattari in his book, What is Philosophy? He says that the sage and philosopher both are different. And the birth of philosophy was an historical event, and but it took place in Greece. And Greeks were the first people who began to think through concepts, and sages think through metaphor or picture. So, uh, so philosophy is conceptual thinking, and children can think conceptually. And if and when they are thinking through concepts, they are doing philosophy.
Hishik, the question from a chat from Papuri. What are the methods and our approach through which we can teach children to think philosophically?
Yeah,
Philosophically, yes, sorry.
yeah. Thank you, Papori. Uh, we can use dialogical method, and that's the dialogical approach is best suitable uh, for the children, and even through literature. If we look to this philosophy for children movement in USA, led by Matthew Lipman, then he is primarily using literature. So he is a pragmatist, and he thinks that through literature, it's possible to yeah it's possible to increase cognitive ability of children, and we can engage them in philosophical inquiry. So so philosophical literature and dialogue. So the stories, novel, and especially philosophy is primarily a dialogical activity. So through dialogues, through discussion, we can initiate them to philosophical thinking.